This video is about ribbing. As you can see in this book, this is single rib. This is double rib. The effect of ribbing is that it gives you a lot of stretch. You can recognise ribbing by the gaps between the rows. You can see there. And when you stretch them apart, they provide a lot of stretch. They're usually used at the edges of knitting projects, especially cuffs. You can see on a scarf there, and yeah, cuffs on socks and cuffs on sweaters. Most popular use. To do single rib, you must cast on an odd number of stitches. I've got 15 here. I've already done a bit of single rib. You can see how stretchy it is. What you need to do is cast on 15 or however many odd stitches. It's got to be an odd number you want. You start. It's very much like the seed stitch I showed you before actually. What you do is you knit. That's knit one. Then you take the yarn, because it's at the back for the knit stitch, you need to bring it to the front for the purl stitch, because this is a type of stitch that alternates between knitting and purl stitches. So you've got to come, take your yarn, take it between the needle points to the front, because obviously you need the working yarn at the front for purl stitches and at the back for knit stitches. And then you purl. Then you take your yarn, take it between the points and to the back, then you knit. Basically all single ribbing consists of is knit and purl stitches. And what you do, we've already knitted, purled, knitted. Then you purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. And you end on the same stitch you start on. So that will be a knit at the end there. You start on a knit, you'll end on a knit. That's how you know you've got it right. And on the next row, you'll start with a purl and go purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, etc. And end on a purl. Next row, start on a knit, end on a knit. Next row, start on a purl, alternate again, down and end on a purl. And you just keep on doing that. So here we've got the yarn at the back, the knit, bring it to the front for purl. You must remember to move this yarn in between the points, between every single stitch. And you just carry on like that, all the way down, and you keep doing it for as many rows as you want. You can see the sort of web, maybe you can see the sort of web effect you get there. And that's what gives you the stretch, the sort of webbing between the rows. Now I've shown you the single rib, now I can explain these photos, where I showed you the lines in between the stitches of the rows of stitches here. Now I can explain that the sunken bits, these gaps here, the lines, those are actually the purl sections. So all the sunken bits down there and in between there, those are just the purl sections which sink behind the knit sections, which are the rows of stitches you can see here that stick up. Just a little explanation there. Now you may be wondering why ribbing is put onto an odd number of stitches. Well, it's perfectly possible to do an even number. What you do for an even number is, I've got an even number here, you do knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. If you start on a knit, end on a purl, and you do that for every single row. So you always know that you have to start on a knit and end on a purl. So it's probably easier because you can remember what stitch to start on each time. But mostly people don't do that for ribbing, because for ribbing they're usually on the edges and the cuffs, and you want a balanced look, a symmetrical look. So most people have an odd number because then it starts on the same stitch that it ends on, and therefore gives a symmetry to the piece, and just looks better. I think people hardly ever use even number of stitches, but it is possible if you want to do that.